I wanted to show you how your choice on whether or not to underpaint your prosthetics or bald cap can really make a difference on the final look when trying to paint realistic skin tones. You can see how much of the dark hair really still comes through under the latex bald cap. And that's a dark color that you're going to have to paint out to get everything to match the skin. Full disclosure, I was hoping to slap this prosthetic on and shoot this video in the middle of a work week, but unfortunately I chose an imperfect B piece that needs a little love, so we're just gonna make it work. Okay, this thing is bondoed to an inch of its life, so let's call that good enough. And I'm only going to PPI paint half of this, just so you can get a really good comparison on the difference of using an underpaint versus not. I'm using a PPI paint. This is by PPI Products. It's gonna help to, one, counteract those dark tones that are coming through that bald cap, and two, add some warmth to that sickly yellow prosthetic. I mean, even looking at it at this stage, which one do you think would be a better starting point to paint at? Now for the rest of the colors, I'm gonna be using Alcohol Activated Colors by Skin Illustrator. I do think that some people look at these palettes and kind of expecting them to act similar to a foundation or concealer palette, where you just kind of dip your brush in and just go to work. But a product like this, it's meant to be mixed and layered. For example, as you can see, out of all these colors, none of these just match my skin right out of the pot. You also might even notice that they're pretty warm and almost orange. That's gonna help to counteract any blue or graying that might happen when you go to mix colors. That way you don't end up with a zombie color and you end up with a skin tone that looks a lot more living. And I am constantly mixing this as I go. You don't have to worry about getting each time you mix it exactly the same. That's why I'm bouncing around and making sure that each time I mix a color, I'm getting it all over the piece. Because you're just gonna wanna layer, and any slight changes in your mixture is just gonna make it look more interesting and organic. And I'm also using a Tour Makeup sponge because a solid color just isn't gonna look as natural. And if you're applying these colors and you feel like it's gotten a little too light, you can go in and start to mix a darker tone and layer that over top. Same goes if you feel like the tone isn't right, if you need to cool it or warm it up, you can easily just add some of those colors into your mixture and apply it over the piece. So I'm just layering and slightly doing minor color adjustments as I do each layer. Also, a lot of newer artists tend to just not apply enough paint to really get those prosthetics to blend into the skin. Though here, you can already see how the PPI has kind of sped up that painting process, whereas that unprepped side, that hair is still peeking through that makeup. And also that yellow from the prosthetic just looks a little unnatural compared to the other side. And yes, you could totally warm up that side that is unpacked with whatever makeup you're using. I mean, as artists, we all have our own method and way to get to a final product. But if you are someone who struggles with getting a nice skin tone on your foam or latex pieces, you can see how adding this warmer undertone can really help speed up your painting. So it's definitely something you might want to try out. Just went ahead and switched to a stipple brush just to add a different texture. You may also notice that I'm not really applying a lot of this makeup onto the exposed skin. That's because using colors closer to my skin that I'm trying to match, when doing a smaller prosthetic or a brow piece, you really shouldn't have to slather the skin to get it all to match. Obviously, if your final look is supposed to be completely different from the original skin tone, well, then that's a different story. Now, spattering is not only a great way to add some texture when applying it really thin down, it's a great way to help shift the color if need be. If you need to add some warmth, going in with a spatter of some reds or pinks, or if you need to cool it down, you can use an olive adjuster blue or some sort of cooling tone. It's just a great way to slightly shift your makeup without committing to a full layer of a specific color. You can see how the bald cap still needs a lot more makeup because there's kind of that bluish green tone coming through. And even on the PPI side, a lot of that coral color is still coming through, but because it's starting at a more natural color, it's much more forgiving. I am purposely not adding any kind of warm tones onto the non-PPI side because I just wanted to show you the stark contrast between the two. And you can even see how the wrinkles even look more natural on that warmer pack side than having that yellow latex color coming through. I'm gonna add some highlights and some shadowing along the whole look, and lightly brushing a lighter tone on the high points, also sponging it up to brighten. And because this brow is a little more creaturey, there is definitely a little more exaggeration going on with the highlights and shadows. Airbrushing the shadowing with a cool brown, just so it looks a little more natural. I am gonna add the contour pretty dark. I definitely wouldn't paint like this if it was supposed to be a little more of a natural, regular style character. Now, I don't want all of that soft airbrush look, so I'm gonna break that up with some spatter. And that's just gonna make it look a little more organic and kind of soften any of those shadow areas. I definitely would love to keep working on this. It could totally use a little more love, but I have already scarfed down my dinner and I need to get to bed soon. I was just hoping to make painting skin tones on latex or foam pieces a little less scary and daunting. The important thing is to play around and see what works for you. Experiment and have fun. It's just makeup. It's not that serious. But you should seriously check out this next video where we go through a couple FX sponges that can create some really cool textures when you're painting your prosthetics. And I'll see you there.